Hey everybody, and welcome to Tales from the Fog. I'm your host Casey, and with me as always my beautiful wife Veronica. How are you doing today?
Good.
And we have a special guest with us. If you listened to our episode 2 episodes ago, I think it was Betty episode, you would have heard the story about Corey, the clairvoyant that Veronica's cousin met on an airplane. And we have Corey with us today. How are you doing, Corey?
I'm doing just fine. So glad to meet you guys.
I'm so glad you were able to come on the podcast. This is great. So tell us a little bit about how did you find out that you had this gift?
Well, it didn't really start out as a gift. As I was a child, I was able to see a little bit more than what I thought I should have seen. I was able to see spirits, more like shadow figures, and growing up in a religious household, you know, parents teach you if there's something like that that you see, you know, you gotta pray about it and then it'll go away. Basically pushing your intention to let that being or entity know that you don't want it around.
Yeah.
So I learned that from a young age, and also I would have little premonitions that would take place a little bit more than deja vu. So I didn't understand that, and eventually I just kind of just shied away from it or just ignored it when it would happen. So out of sight, out of mind. But later, years later, I was in a hospital. I had, I believe, a severe panic attack, and I was taken to the hospital by one of my friends. And during that time in the hospital, I remember for a brief moment, for just a few seconds, looking at the room from above.
Oh, cool.
And it didn't register to me, but there was no communication, no speaking, but inside there was like a internal knowing that I could either go in or I could stay out. And I remember saying, of course I'm going back in. But being in the hospital, going through, you know, that situation, I later forgot about it.
Sure.
So that was the beginning of, not the beginning, but some events that kind of carried me to what I do now. And a year ago, about a year and a half ago, I had left organized religion, and upon doing that, I was shunned. So being shunned, I'm like, well, don't have much to lose, but that was short-lived because my best friend died in April. April 9th, he was hit by a car.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And yeah, that was not good. That was a very difficult, the worst day of my entire life. But that night, when I went to sleep, I remember having a dream about my best friend, and it was not like any other dream I had before. I was hugging him. I was like, buddy, I'm so glad it's not true, but he didn't say anything, but I just felt the presence. I felt him actually hugging me, so I opened my eyes and he was gone. So I was like, I never accepted the fact that he had died. So, and after that happened, a series of little synchronistic events started to happen. I was going on a plane to work. I'm a photographer. I was going on the plane to work a job in Florida, and someone wanted to sit next to their lover, so I switched them seats and was sat next to a woman, Lynn Carlson, who's an amazing psychic medium, but I'd never met her before, and she told me what she did. And my first response was, oh, God. My mind, like, next to a medium, I still have the religious programming in my head. I'm like, but then something said, just be open-minded, Corey, and listen. So I listened, then left that. Then I ended up meeting an actor and photographed him, and he told me, yeah, my girlfriend's a medium, and just casually mentioned it. We ended up going to dinner, and after dinner, I went to her medium ship development circle, which was led by another amazing astrologer and medium by the name of Michael Mayo. And at that, I sat there in the circle, and then we split into groups of two. And there was a man who brought my friend through. I didn't tell him any of the details of what happened. I didn't tell him I had anyone die. The same humor. He described the look. He described what happened. And I'm just crying. It's all over the place. But then it was time for me to see for him. And I'm thinking, I can't do this. But I saw for him. So that was the first time that I purposefully used my clairvoyance.
Whoa.
Now, when you say that you see, how do the visions or the feelings or whatever you get, how do they come through to you? What kind of, is it all emotional, or do you clearly see?
Okay, are you talking about the psychic ability?
Yeah, how does it manifest itself?
Oh, totally. I am more clairvoyant.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, usually things come through in pictures. So there's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and claircognizance, and I use those ones. Also, they help me with my psychometry. If you pick up an object that was someone's, you can know whose it was, who owned it, and get information about that. Also, it helps with my future. When I do future readings, I get the same feelings. For example, if a person is going to get a job, a certain job, I will feel how they will feel before it happens.
Wow.
Or if someone passed away, for example, there was a woman who, the first time I had clairsentient feelings was a woman who had passed, but she was a heavy smoker. And I had that phantom feeling of your lungs filling up with smoke. And, you can't really breathe, but you can. So that's clairsentience. But yeah, I'm a photographer, and the way that it was expressed through the last podcast, Betty, I explained to your cousin how when I see people, it comes to me in different colors. If you're born, the person was born in the 1800s to 1910, they'll come through in a sepia tone.
Okay.
From 1910 to a different period, black and white, and from 1950 onward in color.
That's interesting, yeah.
So how was it from when that first time that you did the reading and you found that you were able to do it, how did it feel? How did it look? How was it doing it then versus how you've been able to build your strength into what you have now?
Got it. So that took place last October, and I didn't hear anything. I only had visuals, so my clairvoyance was open, and I saw, and it was very surprising, but you doubt yourself. At the beginning, you can really doubt yourself because the images that come into your mind are just pictures. Yeah. They're pictures, and a little movie, and you're thinking, am I just thinking this on my own?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So the hard part that could be for many is to actually know your thoughts apart from the thoughts of spirit.
Okay.
Or from the person who's relaying it, because the automatic conscious mind wants to develop a story. Okay. It wants to make a story about everything. But as a medium or as a future seer, you can't make up the details because they don't pertain to you. That's none of your business. You're getting information for somebody or from someone to give to somebody that you can't get attached. It's the same way if years before I was a sign language interpreter, and when you're interpreting, it's the same exact scenario. You do not censor the message. You say exactly what it is, exactly how it is, and learning your voice again and your visuals away from spirit, the conscious and the subconscious, it then makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
That's an interesting... Do you think that there's anything more in common between having that experience of being able to read someone to translate to somebody else? Did you have a muscle already in your mind that you can kind of invoke to make those images and be okay, kind of take it in, translate it, and then put it into a way that somebody else can understand?
I didn't know. It was a surprise to me because I never explored that, but I could say this actually makes my life make sense. As a young person, really young again, with the sign language interpreting, that uses a whole different side of your brain, different part of your brain to decode symbols. But your eyes, the way when you see future, you use your peripheral vision. Using your peripheral vision when you look at someone or when you look at something, it allows you to fall back into your subconscious. So when you fall back into your subconscious, that's when you receive the information. It's like you're saying with a medium session, when a person that has moved on to the other side of life is communicating with you, they are in the superconscious. You are in the conscious, but you have to straddle between the conscious and subconscious to receive the message. So that's where the energy It's a lot of energy that does that. But yeah, going back to your question, I had no idea that I could actually use that training from being a sign language interpreter and move it in this direction.
That's fascinating. Cool. It sounds exhausting.
It can be. It can be really. It can be exhausting because literally you're working with three energies. You're working with the energy of yourself. You're working with the energy of the future, or the person that's passed on, and you're working with the sitter. So it's like three people at one time. Your energy's going. You're like holding hands to two very like volts. I mean, just energy's going right through you.
Is there any time where it's like difficult to draw the line between your energy and the person that you're speaking to, or that person who's speaking through you?
Not really. You know, the spirit energy, for me, from my experience, I can't speak for all who do the kind of work that I do, but you can very well distinguish your own energy from their own. That's one of the first things that you are able to understand. Mm-hmm. For example, like your cousin, when he came onto the plane, when I sat down and I felt this feeling that I should, there's something, Corey, you need to open up right now. And the first thing that you feel, or that I feel, and most readers feel, is if that energy is a male or female energy. You feel it. So you automatically know there's a distinction between your energy and the energy of another space. You know, that, and also you can feel, or claircognizant, you can just know, inner knowing, that this is on this certain side of the family. That's one detail that he left out, that when I said, hey, do you know a Betty that has passed away? And he said, yes, it's my grandmother. And I said, yes, on your mother's side. Yeah. You know, so you get that information as well. So it's very, very clear to distinguish your own energy from energy that is not your own.
Have you ever had an instance where, I mean, we live in a very, fluid time as far as like gender identity and sexuality. Have you ever come across anybody who does not clearly identify as male or female?
And like on the other side?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's fascinating too.
Really?
When I receive, again, going back to my photography background, I love window light. I love natural light. I love always look for windows. Yeah. And when I started through the clairvoyance, when it really was coming through, I was telling people, okay, there's a man sitting here. There's a window on the left. And I kept saying that, I'm like, why do I keep seeing window on the left for men? And then I'll see a woman and she'd have a window shining light on her from the right. And I'm like, you know, what's going on with that? But another psychic says, Corey, this is because you're a photographer. That's how it's communicating with you. So hetero male, masculine energy comes with a light source from the left for me. Hetero female energy comes with a light source from the right.
Interesting.
But those who are not identifying with heterosexual energy have a light shining from behind. Now, the first time I understood this is when I was working with a man who had happened to be a veteran from Iraq. And I met his mother on the plane. She gave me his information, and he ended up contacting me. And as I was doing the medium reading with him, I saw this guy come through. He had the male masculine energy that was coming in from the left. Okay, this is a male spirit. At the end of the reading, the man told me, yeah, I'm thinking about, adopting kids. And I'm like, oh, you're adopting children. Did something happen to you while you were in Iraq? Did you not have kids? I'm pretty nosy.
Yeah.
But the guy said, well, my mother didn't tell you, did she? And I said, what? He says, I was born female. Oh. And so was my friend.
Okay.
And I was going to mention later too that not all readings are G-rated readings.
Sure.
Again, like what his friend showed me was a organ that men do not have, and I didn't want to say it, but he showed me that in the middle of the reading. So I said, okay, maybe this guy has some jokes about this. Never said anything, but after when he told me about him adopting kids and how he was born, female, and so was his friend, it made sense why his friend would show that.
Yeah.
And also it made perfect sense why the light source was coming from the left. You do not get to decide how much masculine or how much feminine energy runs through you. It is not a choice like people think. And that was a big thing for me because It's transgender identity is so popular right now. Many people wonder, oh, maybe this is a guy who just wants to be a girl. Maybe this is a girl who just wants to be a guy. And I'm like, no, I get it now. I get it. It is a real thing. The energy that you are coming into this world with is already set. You can't change that, So it is fascinating.
That's actually pretty beautiful.
That is, yeah. I love that.
It is awesome.
So what's been some of your more memorable reads that you've had?
Oh man, there's so many. I have a reading with in 2014. I had a job in the Bahamas. I was going there for about a week to photograph a wedding and some events. Ran into some travelers there, and something told me, Corey, go back. So I went back and I talked to them. I said, I'm here photographing this wedding, but I really want to get a feel of the island. Could I follow you guys for a while tomorrow and just photograph you? They're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
There's something that I just needed to photograph about these two guys. So we go to the beach. They go spearfishing. I do not do any posing. I'm just photographing them and just hanging out, chatting it up with them. And after I left, that was on a Friday. A few days later, this guy comes back to my place where I was staying and said, hey, Corey, did you hear about Ben? I'm like, no. He says, Ben drowned a few hours after you left.
Wow.
So I had to go and prepare the pictures to give to him. And by this time, it had been a few days. His parents were there on the island. And if I sent those photographs to you, and when you look at the photographs that were attached in the email, it looks like it's telling a story before it happens.
Yeah.
If you look at the faces, if you look at the composition, you see his friend, he was there when he drowned. He tried to save him, but he was not able to. So years later, that was 2014, and now 2017, his father messages me on Facebook telling me how much he loves the pictures of his son. And I'm thinking, whoa, like now I could do something else. There's a reason why we met. So I end up, getting in touch with his father, and which was difficult because it's not every day that someone's going to call and say, hey, I talked to your dead son last night.
Sure.
He wants to get you, in touch with you guys. It's it's a very, and some people who are mediums will challenge the fact that I do this because they feel that if a person, is to receive a message that they should seek it out. And I'm thinking that's good for some people. But some people, they're not ever going to reach out to receive anything like that because of fear of displeasing God, fear of the unknown. So for me, I'm like, I have to formulate, the structure of my sentences to make sure that it is easier to receive. So I told him about, the different events that were happening over the few years. And I forgot to mention that my great-great-grandmother was also clairvoyant, and her brother was also a seer. But I kind of soften the situation. Then I tell him I know that there's more reason to why we met. And your son, I reached out to him, and he wants me to relay something to you. I reached out for something very specific so that you will know that it's really him. And he told me boat races. I said, do you remember taking your son to boat races when he was a child? And he says those are some of his most fondest memories that they had together. And then not only did his son come through, but there was a grandparents, a parent, all came through with so much emotion. But for that man, it was really difficult, and he absorbed it. And he says, this is a lot. Thank you very much for sharing this with me. And then I, let the phone go. But then I called his friend who was there when he passed away. Yeah. And that was very emotional to reunite the two, to give all the information, because that's what the spirit has to do, is they have to relay information that the other person will identify with. The same with your cousin. Like, they had to show me things, tell me things, because that's a really sensitive thing. And also the video that I sent to you guys about what happened after. Whoa, I had never had anything like that happen before, but that was a very memorable experience. Also, a recent one a few days ago, I had a baby, a miscarriage soul.
Wow.
Miscarried soul came through. I had a stillborn before, but a miscarried soul came through. I was doing a future reading for a special ed teacher who is developing who's also right now is developing some technology. I was able to see that and how that was going to go, but in the middle of the future reading, I felt these clairsentient feelings of problems with my heart. And I'm thinking, how in the world is this happening right now? But I continued my reading, and then out of nowhere, I stopped, and my eyes started watering up, and I told him, I said, it doesn't matter if the life was lived long or if it was a short life. Love is not measured by time. Those were not my words. I spoke those words, and then I just started to cry, and I understood. I said, your child, I said, is present that did not make it. And I'm sitting there with him. He was very receptive to it because that child did not have an experience in life. He couldn't show me visuals. All that child could give me was the experience of what it feels like to lose a child. I felt that. And also, I asked the soul, I said, what was wrong? What happened? And then I got all these different symptoms in my heart, in my intestines, and then that claircognizant knowing, I said, it was not anyone's fault. This child would not have been able to survive. And they had a problem with the organs and the different places. So that just blew both of our minds. This love is not measured by time. So I told him, I said, your job as a father has been accomplished. It doesn't matter if you love a child for 1 year, 50 years, not even before it comes here. It doesn't matter. You did your job by allowing that soul to experience love. Soul age is different from human age. A soul is developed. There's no babies. Sorry if some people may think this, but in my experience, there are no babies that are floating around without complete understanding and knowledge. Once you leave this physical plane, you are tapped into source. There's no need for further, development as far as just having human knowledge. You already have a complete body. You're a complete entity. So that just was one of my most cherished moments. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we heard Jim's side of the story. So give us your side of the story. What happened from your point of view?
All right. Well, I had photographed a wedding the night before, and I have never, ever in my entire life missed a flight. That's not what I do. So I had overslept, and I woke up in a panic, and then I had this calm come over me. I knew, I was like, something awesome is going to happen, because it's something about me and travel. As soon as my seat gets moved on a plane, on a train, I know the person that's sitting next to me, someone's trying to say something. Yeah. So I end up getting on the plane. I sat down next to him, and I could tell. I'm not sure where he is on Myers-Briggs. I would say INTJ, ISTP. I'm not sure. He's a very introverted person. Yeah. And I try to take it easy on him because I'm very sociable. I am a unequivocal ENFP, if you know, again, Myers-Briggs. Mm-hmm. But I sat down next to him, and I knew that I had to open up. I knew it. I could feel it. And I had a discussion with this Betty before I said anything. I was sitting there, and I said, please give me something that I can show him, something I can tell him, because I do not want to do this. Because and I've never just reached over and said, the name was so weird. And she kept telling me, because what I was doing is I was making space in myself to make sure that this is the correct name. So I would fall into my subconscious and let the thoughts, whatever thoughts, pass away, and I kept hearing Betty, 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 Betty. So when I looked at him, I knew it was going to be difficult for me. I feel people, I knew he's very introverted, and he did pretty much, he was ready to read that book and have a nice quiet ride. But reaching over to him, it was funny that you said that how he I was getting fidgety. Like, I really wanted to tap him and just tell him this so I can get this woman off of me. But the objective that I always have had in doing this kind of work, and even before when I was a Jehovah's Witness, or when I was doing volunteer work, or when I was working as a sign language interpreter, is that belonging is truth. That's what it is. Connecting and knowing that you are loved, that is truth. So I want to make sure that whoever was trying to say something to him would say something. But I laughed at the description after he sent it to me of the story, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm throwing Skittles down and Fruit Loops and rainbows all over the plane. But it is a truth that many people who are clairvoyant do not identify themselves as being heterosexual. It is, and I've learned to really appreciate the fact that the masculine and feminine energy that I am able to hold gives me a range of being able to communicate with different type of people. If I was too hard, I wouldn't be able to care enough maybe to open myself up to that fear, of being rejected. Also, when it comes to, in the past, many people were, were respected in different cultures for being able to have this androgynous spirit. The Egyptians loved it. They knew that there was something about that balance, that kind of stuff. And again, I speak for my own experience, and I speak for myself as a seer and a clairvoyant, that this is the way I decide to allow my love to be shown. Some would differ and again say, oh, well, what happened if it could have been bad, and maybe, that could have really hurt his feelings. I'm thinking it's not all about the person that's alive on this plane. That's not why I do what I do. What I do also gives healing to those that have moved on. So it's not about you-centered, and you have, several people who want you to prove it. Yeah. It's like, that's not it. You can't ask for love to give you love. And that's the gift that we all receive. But back to your cousin, he's very explicit in his details, and I appreciated that too, just to see how the world sees me. And I'm tall, I'm 6'2". I am an American black man, and having the voice, having the mannerisms, and being clairvoyant makes it very non-typical. Sure. And I was very happy that he was able to accept that experience.
He's a very detail-oriented person, so he picks up on a lot of things.
Yeah, but he observes with love. I mean, in talking with him afterwards, he has so much respect for you, and I mean, just for everybody alive, really. But I admired his description because, seeing a little bit through his eyes, because I'm sure, I would have seen it so differently. But, it's just different walks of life, different perspective. So part of the reason why I like spending so much time with him is that perspective. I'm naturally
drawn to that kind of, those type of people too. The people who are more introverted have a lot to say. They don't say much, but when they do, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, because they've been thinking about it a long time. They've had some time to really chew on it.
Totally. Yeah. And I love how, even before meeting him, I could feel the love that was around him. And that is the same for every person. Some people think that they have to have a close family member or friend that passed away before they do a reading. That's not true. There's always people around you, supporting you, helping you out, that are on the other side. So, but actually feeling that love, and that's why I do what I do. I love feeling life inside me. Mm-hmm. I feel life inside me, and I don't look at anyone the same anymore, because everyone, I say that people don't deserve to be loved because they already are. They deserve to know it. Yeah. They deserve to know it, because we are loved so much. And when you feel that, even if for little things, like he said, he was just afraid of, the clouds that day in the skies. He was a little nervous. Even something that small matters for someone to bring, some comfort or to give you some perspective that you may not see the end, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they see it, and it's amazing. I love it. It's worth not having the connections that I used to have, the friendships I lost. I mean, again, I tell you, I lost my whole family, friends, my business as a photographer. You know, a lot was linked into the connections that I knew from my previous affiliations religiously.
Yeah.
It doesn't compare.
So
it doesn't compare at all.
How has coming out as a clairvoyant affected your life, and what has the reception been overall?
Okay. Well, I'd like to tell you guys this is my first time actually officially coming out as clairvoyant right here on your show.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're so comfortable. Like, it's just part of you. Like, I would never have thought that you haven't, like, full on talked about this before.
Yes, totally. So maybe some people will hear this podcast and, like, tell my mother. Yeah, my mother has no idea that this is what I do. We barely even speak, but I have a nephew who knows. I have one uncle who knows, a cousin. But it's a hard thing because, again, you are faced with another rejection. You know, you're faced with another rejection from society because people fear what they don't know. And I'm always have been a very neutral person when it comes to politics, when it comes to religion. Doesn't mean I'm not educated, doesn't mean I don't care. But for me to be able to love the way that I love, I don't want to accept you for who you are. I want to celebrate you.
Wow.
And if I go into a group, even when it comes down to gender association, a person who will look at me will say, oh, he must identify as being gay, or he must identify as being African American. No, I identify as being Corey, honestly, and I'm not ashamed of anything about myself. I just choose not to put myself in the parameters. If someone needs, what people think about me, like RuPaul said, is none of my business. But for me, I choose to have my doors open for everyone. If you decide that you want to worship mice, I'll say, hey, tell me where the closest pet store is and we'll feed them together. If you support some type of movement such as Black Lives Matter, I'll support you. If you support White Lives Matter, I'll help you. It doesn't matter, because what matters to me is your heart. You know, are you moving? Are you being a positive person that will encourage the whole? And that's what really helps me when it comes to my readings too. If I had more religious or racial prejudice, I wouldn't be able to be a sitter and have as much effect. I get people that come to me that speak other languages through me. You know, like I said the one story about there was a man that who had a friend who passed away in the Philippines. And during the reading, I felt that this person was going to say something in their language. I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I said, if it comes really close, just, and I said it, and the word was kalikali. And if any Filipino people know what kalikali means, it means armpit. I had a joke about armpit. So when the guy told me, he says, oh, that means armpit. I'm like, I'm so sorry. He says, no, we have jokes about armpits. And that was his thing that gave him the thing that he was needing beyond all the details. I mean, that just took the reading over the moon. But again, being the kind of person that I appreciate being doesn't mean that everyone will follow my way. I don't want them to, but I experience so much by staying in the middle and by allowing others to be themselves. Whatever experience you have, I'm not going to call you good or bad, but are you being more positive or negative? That takes you off the judgment seat and helps you to really just be prepared for whatever comes through without judgment, because you do hear a lot of things, a lot of regrets, a lot of people who people would say were bad people come to me to give comfort and to give apologies or some type of, saying a message of encouragement to the ones who are still living. So. Yeah.
So do you think that had a big, I'm assuming, I guess, that was a part of who you were before you discovered that you had clairvoyance, that you were capable of it. So do you feel like that has been sort of part of what makes you so good at it or so receptive?
I really believe so. And even when it comes to, again, my whole path in life from religion, modern, more Christian-based religion, it is difficult for people who hold such a amount of feminine energy. It's a really difficult thing, but I also see the beauty of the way that I was raised in an organization that doesn't really promote political or racial boundaries. Mm-hmm. So that was instilled in me as a child, that it was more than just, God loves everyone. It's like, no, really, your brothers and sisters are the people of the world. Doesn't matter what color they are. And the same, even though I may not prescribe to the stories in the Bible as true or not, some maybe, but that doesn't really matter. But the principles from all these different, holy books, whether it's in, Hindu, whether it's Sanskrit or Bible, there's so many similarities. And I guess I would say that if you have a tree that grows in China that produces apples, it's an apple tree.
Yeah. If
you have a tree that grows in Africa or North America that produces apples, they're apple trees. So it doesn't matter where the tree is or the fruit is grown. It just matters that it is the fruit that it says it is. Mm-hmm. So that's what love is. And that's how I interpret love. I interpret God or the universe as being the production of that fruit. That is everywhere. So if you can, look at a person that walks down the street and you can't tell them that they're not what they're producing, if they are producing that love. So I only expect the best out of people, and that's what I get.
So when people come to you or go to another reader, what can they expect to get back? And then what do you expect of the person sitting there getting the reading?
Right. What you want when you go to a reader is you want someone that's not going to elude the reading with their own ideas and their own, what do you want to call that? I don't know, this is their bias. You don't want that, because the information that I receive is not for me. I am here only to interpret and reiterate the information. For example, it's kind of like having binoculars on. Mm-hmm. You can have more foresight. You're able to draw it back, push it out a few years, push it into months. You're able to see. You just tell them what you see and what you feel, and not your opinion. Mm-hmm. The same when it comes to, medium readings. You do not give your opinion. You just state the information that you receive. Mm-hmm. And also you want to make sure that when you go to a reader that they have the specific qualities that you're looking for. Do you want them to be clairvoyant? Do you want them to be clairaudient? Do you want them to be able to know how to do psychometry? Study the different senses that you want to find in a reader. Also, when it's to a sitter, the person that's coming for the reading, they, like I put in the notes, that a closed mind is hard to fill. Yeah. If you come to a seer or clairvoyant and say, prove to me this, they're going to look at you and say, maybe I will, I'm not going to speak for all, I will look at you and say, get out. Because, that is not why I'm here. I am here to give you love and, and help you understand more about an abundant life that you can have now in a better way. But the person that's coming should have it in their mind that they have to invest something. And what you invest as a sitter is free will. Free will is not an idea. Free will is the ability to take your intention and latch it on to a higher energy source. For example, let's use a biblical illustration. You had Jesus walking on water. Here's the Apostle Peter wanting to walk with Jesus. He looks and says, I want to do it, so he gets out and starts walking. But then he looks around and starts to sink. What happened? Yeah. Mm-hmm. His intention left the higher source of energy. He took his intention or his free will away from that channel or that current. So even when you're doing a future reading for someone, I will say in my mind, my intentions go out and say, please show me what will be the best for this person when it comes to them receiving a very abundant experience of life, of being able to give and receive love and to be happy. Please show me that way. And when I see that way, I get dates, times, places, cities. I get all the information I need.
Mm-hmm.
But my responsibility is to give the information. Now, if a person gets all the information from me and says, well, I'm supposed to call at 10:30, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just call at 12.
Right.
Yeah.
They did not fully give their intention to grab onto that higher energy. It's kind of, the way that I see it is like, pretend like you're standing in the universe and you're looking up and you see all these currents of energy that you know that you can jump into at any time.
Mm-hmm.
That's like your future. Your future is not just definite. Some things are more definite than others, but it's like a movie with alternate endings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, where free will is. Your free will is to say, I want to attach my energy to that current of energy. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to latch on to that. So you have a lot of influence on your life, but again, you have to bring to a reading intention. It's kind of like when you're standing in a circle with three people. If two people are holding hands really tight, but that third one has like a soggy grip, it's not really going to make the swinging of the hands back and forth that much enjoyable.
Yeah.
So the same thing in a reading, I'm getting energy from the higher source, from that super conscious, and I'm having my own energy, and then the other person, they could get good messages from spirit if they are not really wanting to give their intention, but it's better if you do, because the reading will be more solid. It's always like that. When someone has more intention that they offer to the reading, the energy gets a lot closer, just like with your cousin. When his sister came through, it was such an emotional moment. I was there feeling her feelings, but I said, could you have her come closer? Because I want to get as much information as possible. So when he added more intention, more of the energy to the circle, more words came out, expressions came out. Also one more thing, when you go for a reading, a sitter wants to ask the reader, or the reader will already let them know why that person came through. What was the reason? Some readers will say, oh, they look like this. They may give a name. They may give, all this other information, and then that's it. They're doing good in spirit. No, why are they here? There's a reason why they are present. There's a reason, why they want to communicate with you right now. So you should know by the time you leave why that person, did arrive to give you whatever they did. And not all the time will you get a name. It's not always dependent upon the reader whether they have the capability to get names. I get names. We got that with Betty. I get, cities and times, but sometimes that's not what the spirit wants to do. Sometimes they want to give you enough information to make you search. I've had readings that I've done for people who, at that moment, they had no idea how these things were pertaining to them. At one kid, I knew that there was grandfather energy. He had a grandfather who drove truck during the Great Depression. He had another grandfather who was stationed in British Columbia during one war, and his other grandfather was in the Japanese War. But he didn't know that. I didn't know, that, all those details. All I got was, okay, I see a guy who's driving a truck, and this is in the 20s. Do you know that person? Next person, this guy's in the 60s. He's around air travel. He's in another country. Do you know that person? No. Okay, I see Japanese paintings. Please let me know. Do you understand this? No. Until he calls back. And then he gives me the information that, dude, I did the research. My parents told me all this. Yeah, my mom's dad was during the Korean War, was stationed in Japan. It's beautiful because they send you on treasure hunts, especially when you don't know. So if you don't have a specific name to reach out for, you more than likely will get people from the side of the family that you don't really know that well. So you never know who will drop in unless, you do have a specific name that you want to reach out for.
Very cool.
If you're speaking to people that, you see a vision where they were from this time frame, it seems like once you cross over to the other side, you don't, have to play by the same rules as far as space and time go. Like, can you, from someone who died in the 20s or the 50s or, last week or something, and then on different parts of the globe, it's like that just dissolves and you just have access.
Awesome. It is very awesome. I remember the first time I did a phone reading. I was nervous because I only was in the classroom for a few times or in person with people, but I did a reading for someone that lives an hour from me, and then I have a client that lives in Spain, and I do readings with that person. I also do genetic readings, which is something I haven't really publicized yet, but I can get information about a person's genetics down to the 0.25%.
Wow.
But that's the information that you can pull. I also do chakra understandings, like the amount or the percentage of what chakras are most open, what your energy sources in your body. You can get so much information if you just pull and ask for it. But it is, space and time does not matter. I do like to be in person when I do future readings because I think that's a little bit more intimate.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't matter. It could be on the phone. It could be through email. It could be anywhere, anytime, any place.
That's really cool. So
Oh, wait, I have one more question pertaining to that. Do you ever feel like you've received an energy that wasn't necessarily human?
Yes. And the reason why I say that is when I receive information, I know that there are spirit guides that work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they haven't manifested themselves as, a person says, oh, I used to be alive or not, but I know that it's a higher energy that comes to me when I get my readings. And everyone that does readings, like medium readings or maybe psychic readings, they usually have a signal. Like your guide, whoever's working with you, will give you a specific signal. My signal right now, I have a pulsating in my face, around my nose. Mm-hmm. My face kind of like pulsates, and that's how I know, okay, get ready. Someone needs something, or something is going to happen. I want to meet someone, and then boom, So you do get signals from the other side when something very important is happening, or it will happen through a medium session. But many people also wonder if, which was one of my first questions too, because I was afraid of everything, is how can you be sure that you're not working with dark energy?
Yeah.
And again, that is your intention. I am a firm believer that there are positive and negative energy. I don't judge any of it because I don't live in it, but I only deal with positive. My intentions go out as before I do any reading, even before this interview, that the only energy that surrounds is nothing but positive, only energy of light. There's also different stones that you can get, because stones are like batteries. You find it in every civilization. Again, in the Bible, different people use different stones to facilitate communications. For example, even, if you prescribe to the Bible, Aaron the priest had a vest that he would wear with all these different stones before he would go into the most holy. He had to put that on before he lit the incense, before he facilitated communication with another dimension. So they still work. Little stones are batteries. And also sage, or something about sage, that clears negative energy out of the room. I don't know how. I'm not a scientist. I'm just me. So this is, it actually works. So I've never had any experiences with any energy that is negative around me. It doesn't happen. It doesn't come my way. I know several psychics and mediums that also told me they do not have those situations that are happening to them. And many times that can be misinterpreted. If you have things going on at home, you can think, oh my goodness, I'm seeing a little kid, or I'm feeling a presence, and you're freaked out by it, mostly because of the stories that you've heard or what you attribute it to be. But it could simply be someone who, it may be a relative, maybe there's someone who's attached to the home in some kind of way. So 9 out of 10 times, it's nothing that's actually ever going to try to do anything to hurt you. But it's, it's our minds battling the idea that I can't believe that this is real. And it has to be something bad. If I can't explain it, if I can't understand it, it must be trying to hurt me, or maybe it's walking up and down the stairs and scaring me half to death. That's not the reason, And again, I'm not going to say that there are not entities that are not rude, because just like people, we all have our personalities. Yeah. But, the people that I come in contact with, whether it's just randomly, boom, I feel I need to open up, or clients that come my way are never of that negative vibration, you know. And also what you eat, what you wear, what you bring into your home, you know. Again, psychometry, if you bring something into your home from a person that has a very negative environment, it will bring more negative energy into your space. Doesn't have to be the evil devils or whatever they call them coming in, or the spooks, but it's just lowering the vibration of that area. So energetic hygiene is very important as a reader, to make sure that you keep your body and your vessel clean to get the clearest signals possible to do the kind of work that you want to do.
Yeah. And with the law of attraction, you know, like attracting like, you have that higher sense of, you know, higher vibration. You're going to attract people, you know, who also have that same kind of mindset, who choose to see the good, you know, whether intentionally or not. You know, some people are kind of still feeling their way through it. You know, I think everybody is through the end of their life, you know, trying to figure out what feels good, what is right, you know, with love, trying to find love for everything. But, you know, with everything that we come in contact with isn't always, you know, as relaxed and groovy as all that. But I think that you do have a lot of control over it. And being as relaxed and groovy as you are, you're able to attract those people into your life.
Yeah. Intention is everything. I tell it. Intention is the most powerful thing you have. If a person can levitate, move things around with their mind, it's your intention. Your intention, you know, many people think about manifesting this. Oh, we're going to manifest $1 billion. We're going to manifest this. We're going to manifest that. But are you thinking about wealth or abundance? And when I do readings, my whole composition, my mind, my intention is, how can we see what's going to be abundant for this person? Whether their life will be long or short, you know. You know, it's kind of like the weather, man. You know, in one way, like if you see, you know, a hurricane, you know, on the news, it's more than likely going to be a hurricane. You have the opportunity to say, am I going to sit here or am I going to move?
Yeah.
You know? So a good reader is going to help you learn how to navigate around and maybe jump into another current to protect you and to give you that abundant life. And it's awesome.
That's cool.
That's great.
So as we're wrapping this up, I think I have probably like 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
One is, I've done a lot of ghost hunting.
Cool.
And I've been into places where you instantly walk in and you feel that negative energy. And then I've been to places where you don't necessarily feel negative energy, but there is like a vibration there that you can kind of sense that something is off. Are those kind of like the same kind of energies that you're describing, or is it just something that's imprinted on that area?
Yes. Again, I'm not expert in that per se, but I will tell you that a place, a room, whatever energy that happened in that room, like there's many places where people were murdered or hurt. Again, intention is everything, and it's like, again, even if you're not physically touching it, your intention has touched it.
Yeah.
You know, you can get the same feeling walking to a meat factory of this negative, you know, intention, and that's going to attract more of that negative intention. So, I do believe very much that you know, your environment is affected by what you do, because, you know, when you have a person who is, again, not the most positive, when they leave their imprint around, you know, whether it's something that they used to work on, maybe they worked in building the place, you know, or was frequented that place, it's going to carry the resonance of those people or entities that were in there, and that's why they'll be attracted to places like that. So
how do you break that?
Awesome.
How do you like break the cycle?
Break the cycle of the negative energy? Well, clearing. You have to get a professional that does clearing, and I work with my intuitive coach. Her name is Lonnie Reagan of Santa Barbara. Amazing. Her email is AskLonnieNow, LANI, and she's great. She's a healer. She's also a reader, but she does home clearings for places and blessings and She has, her thing that she does to make sure that you won't have to deal with that energy, and also how you could have possibly, maybe if this is a home, what did you do to co-create that environment?
Yeah.
And how are you continuing to co-create this environment that is being conducive for this type of energy that is present? So I would say, if anybody, she is dynamic. She has shown me things that I never knew that I could do, such as remote viewing.
Yeah.
Future seeing. Also, when a person tells me a person's name, I can see them. And not only see them, I can tell you about their personality. If I dig deeper where they work, I don't go too far because, again, I know boundaries.
Yeah.
But she has taught me so many wonderful things. And I would definitely, that's a person that you would probably really appreciate, talking to, because this is her forte.
Yeah.
And she is just dynamic in everything that she does.
That sounds awesome. So we're going to put up all your information and the photos and everything up on the show notes with the blog post for this episode. But if people want to know how to get in contact with you, if they want to get a reading or talk to you about possibly whatever they need to talk to you about, how would they get a hold of you?
Sure. What they can do is they can email Corey, Corey, can, and the letter C, coreycanc @gmail.com. Again, the C is for clairvoyant. They can go ahead and email me there, and actually in about maybe less than a week, I'm going to put up another page, a Facebook page for my seeing. But again, this is my coming out as, the psychic guy right here. So,
so
nice.
excited.
And then once you have your Facebook up, send it to us, and we'll also post it on the Tales from the Fog Facebook page so people can find it.
Yes, definitely. And I hope to be able to give you guys a reading too, so that you guys can understand a little bit more about what I do, and also maybe give you guys some love from someplace that is trying to send it over to you. Or if you want to see a little bit of the future, again, it's not set in stone. It's just, whatever will be more abundant for you, I can help you see it. I would love to do that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It would sound cool. Yeah, my cousin was trying to be like, oh, you should record it. And I'm like, no, because I am like super ooey gooey emotional. And like, I know as soon as I hear like some name of maybe somebody I knew like 25 years ago, I'm just going to be like a big old soggy mess. So I don't need that documented for posterity.
No,
but I would really dig it. I think it'd be cool.
I'm very comfortable. You guys didn't ask me.
But if you,
I like to be in a certain mode before I go in.
Yeah.
Like, love is not a sideshow. You can be very intimate and amazing, but it's good when it's off air.
Yeah, definitely we'll schedule it. We'll schedule it with you maybe once we're done, and then
totally.
And then afterwards, maybe on the next podcast at the beginning or something, we can talk about what transpires in that at that time. But
do you have one planned with Jim? Do you know if you're going to do another intentional sit down with him?
I haven't been able to be in touch with him lately. I mean, he did email me about a week ago, but I was working in Chicago at that time. But I have to do that again with it. That would be great to actually do probably a future one this time and see how he liked that,
I think he'd be really into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to have him on the podcast too to like get a little bit more from his perspective, and also because he's like a super awesome smart geek. We have lots of like sci-fi questions to ask him, but I wanted to see if maybe he'd if you were going to interact with him again, because then I wanted to make sure to touch base with him on that also.
Right. That would be great. I look forward to talking to him again, and you guys too. It's really good to see you.
It's great to finally talk to you.
I've known you for forever.
I know, it really does.
We did.
It's just you, like you said, you have that open, friendly personality where there's just no wall there. You're just like, hi, this is me. How are you? Just so relaxed and groovy. Like a lot of friends, we worked in Not Scary Farm. A lot of our friends are like that. They're just like, this is me. Hi. And you just feel like you've known them your whole life because there's no sense of they're hiding anything or anything like that,
No,
but
what you see is what you get. And,
Yeah.
You may get a little bit more than that, maybe. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on your show. It's
problem.
Awesome.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much for trusting us with this and for, sharing this with, it's not a gigantic fan base, but, it's a bunch of people that you don't know, and it's
growing.
It's growing. But it's really, just acknowledging this ability is brave.
It is, yeah.
And then pushing it even more and learning more and reaching out to complete strangers, that's nothing shy of brave, and definitely not everyone could do that. I don't think that I could do that,
You never know.
True, you never know. Never say never.
Everyone has psychic sense. That's why I push too. Everyone has psychic senses that we do use, but we just don't know that we're using them half the time.
Sure.
But
that gut feeling thing.
Yeah, this again, the whole gifted idea. Some people will argue it's a gift, but love is the gift. But how you use it, that is the gift that you give to others. Is how you use these abilities, and you can train them, and it doesn't take long too. Some will, again, like muscles. Some people, it's easier for them to get a certain type of definition. Other people have a certain type of definition another way. But it is not barred, or it's not relegated by religion. It's not relegated by culture. All of these abilities are present and have been present from the beginning of time until now. They have been people that have maximized their ability to see and to feel. So I tell you, for my conclusion with my big mouth, is to see with your heart and feel with your eyes. And just watch how the world opens up for you. And
I think that's a perfect spot to end the podcast right there.
That sums it up beautifully.
So thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you in the fog.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.